Have you ever wondered what pure terror looks like? When it wears the mask of joy, a smile, a rhythm, a dance, and then death. This is the true story of a town that watched hundreds of its people rise from their beds, walk into the streets, and begin dancing against their will. Not for minutes, not for hours, but for days until their legs shattered, their hearts exploded, and their minds slipped into madness. This is the chilling account of the dance plague of 1518, one of the strangest events ever recorded in human history, and once you hear it, you may never trust your own heartbeat again. The woman who started the apocalypse was a warm morning in July 1518 in the city of Strasbourg, a quiet town, a peaceful one. Nothing extraordinary ever happened there, but that would change the moment one woman stepped out of her house. Her name was Frau Trophia. She didn't greet her neighbors. She didn't carry food or water. She didn't even look up. Instead, she walked to the center of the street, lifted her arms, and began dancing. At first, people laughed. A little morning celebration, perhaps, a festival, a wedding, a moment of joy. But Frau Trophia's face did not show joy. It showed pain, fear, a kind of silent desperation. Minutes passed, then hours. She kept dancing, her feet blistered. Blood began to appear on the cobblestones. Her breathing turned ragged, and yet she could not stop. People begged her to sit. Her husband pleaded with her to rest, but it was as if an invisible hand was gripping her bones, forcing them to move. Frau Trophia danced for 6 days straight, and on the 7th day, the curse spread. A town begins to move against its will one by one. Others felt the same pull, a shaking in their legs, a trembling in the chest, a rhythm that wasn't theirs. First, a young man collapsed to his knees, only to rise again, body jerking into dance. Then a mother, then 2 children, then a dozen more. They danced with tears streaming down their faces. Some called for help, some cried for mercy, but none of them could stop. Within a week, over 100 people were dancing uncontrollably in the streets of Strasbourg. By the second week, over 400, the streets echoed not with laughter, but with screams. People danced until their bones cracked, until their muscles tore, until their hearts thumped irregularly in their chests, trying desperately to keep up. And the question rose like a scream no one wanted to hear. What invisible force had taken over this town? The doctors who had no answers, authorities panicked. They summoned doctors from surrounding towns. The diagnosis? A single word: hot blood. They believed the dancers had overheated their bodies with wild emotions, too much passion, too much imagination. And the cure they prescribed: more dancing. Yes, you heard that correctly. They hired musicians. They built wooden stages. They played drums and violins to help the dancers get it out of their system. Imagine it. Hundreds of people, drenched in sweat, bleeding from their feet, being encouraged to continue dancing. The results were catastrophic. Every day, more collapsed. Some died mid-step, falling to the ground with their hearts still beating frantically inside their broken bodies. Some foamed at the mouth. Some shook uncontrollably. Some whispered that the devil himself was conducting the music. And still, the dancing did not stop. The rhythm no human could resist, survivors would later describe a terrifying sensation. It wasn't me moving. Something inside me was pulling the strings. Like a puppeteer hidden behind a curtain. Whatever force gripped them was not emotional, not joyful, not voluntary. It was parasitic. A rhythm drilled into their bones, a pulse beneath their skin, a command echoing in their minds. Move, move, move. And if they disobeyed, their bodies rebelled, twisting violently until they obeyed again. Some claimed they saw figures watching them from rooftops. Shadowy shapes moving in perfect synchrony, as if they were the ones dancing, and the humans were merely copying them. But no one dared to look for too long, because every second you stared, you felt your own foot twitch. The deadly finale by August. The town resembled a battlefield. People lay on the ground, unconscious or dead. Families cried over bodies that still twitched in rhythmic spasms. Priests marched through the streets, chanting prayers meant to break possession. And finally, the authorities realized something crucial. Music wasn't curing them. Music was fueling the plague. The musicians were silenced, the stages destroyed. Dancers were gathered and forcefully taken to a mountain shrine, far from the city. There, barefoot, bleeding, exhausted, they were left in silence, and slowly, very slowly, the dancing stopped. Not because the plague ended, but because there were few left who could still stand. The mystery that still haunts us historians have proposed many theories: hallucinogenic mold, mass psychosis, religious hysteria, unknown disease, neurological poisoning, but none of them explain the most unsettling truth. No one who danced ever felt like it was truly their choice. They described something inside them, a whisper, a push, a rhythm that did not belong to the human world. And perhaps the real horror lies here. If a town of hundreds could lose control of their own bodies so completely, what makes you think you couldn't? What makes you believe your heartbeat is always your own? Because sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one sound, one rhythm to wake something ancient inside you. And once it wakes, it doesn't stop, not until you do.